And remember that the problem is that we don't seem to understand is that this is not something easy to do. And we think we're going to be here, 60, 70, 80 years or 90 years. And we take the time for granted. We take things for granted. We really think that we're going to be around to make up if we made a mistake in our life with the people that we love. Guess what? There is no such thing. Okay, many people drop dead children and they didn't have a time. They thought they had all the time in the world. I've known teachers personally who actually thought they're going to retire and they never made it to retire. So my sister and I was talking and she was telling me that we really don't know how to live in this world. We have no idea. We've been given misinformation, and if you look at everyone, no one seems to know what they're doing. What people are doing is just following their desires. That's pretty much what they're doing. They're fighting, 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 trying to climb a wall. Think about the wall full of grease, and you're trying to climb the wall. Guess what? You're never going to get up there. It's going to be stressful. Eventually, you're going to get tired and you're going to give up. So, making life is a struggle in this world. How do we interpret our existence? How do we use this life? It's called an upside down world. And the Jews call it that because everything is upside down, it doesn't make sense. We're thinking by our logic, if I do A, B should happen, but it doesn't. When we do A, B doesn't happen. Wonder what happened? What went wrong? But again, because we don't have this information, mostly everything we know is against God. Pretty much everything we do is going to be against God. Well, you say, why it's going to be against God? Because if you don't know what God requires of you, then how do you know what he wants and how are you going to do it? So this is why he gave us the Old Testament, the Torah. And if you look at it and if you read and examine it, everyone that's in the Old Testament who decide to do what they think was right got punished for it. Why? Because God says, I gave you a set of instruction. I am the creator. You are the creation. And I gave you a manual for you to operate and function by, to live by in this world. And I expect you to follow the instruction. If you decide not to follow the instruction, you're going to get punished. If you follow it, you get rewarded. Isn't that what happens as a parent when you have children in the classroom? What do? I mean, when you have children in your house, you have rules. When your children break those rules, do you simply ignore it or is there consequences? And what is the purpose of the rules to begin with? The purpose of the rules is to protect your children. That's why there's rules in your house. Guess what? This world is God's house, and we are his children. And he gave us rules. And what are the rules? It's for our own benefit. It's not for God's benefit, it's for our own benefit. And if we follow it, the life we desire, or at least the suffering, the pain that we endure, will not feel the way it feels now. And we're going to learn that as we move through this series of Bitachon, trusting in God, and understand that this is a requirement. It is a mandatory. Just like you need air to breathe, you need this Bitachon. Understand what this is in order for you to live in this world. Without this, you're going to be a miserable human being. That's everybody. You need this information. When you listen to this, share, subscribe, and write in comments for other people who are learning this as well. This is something is a must, ladies and gentlemen, that we need to understand this. And unfortunately, I wish I knew this as a child growing up. These 4 elements we talked in the previous video that we need to know moving forward in this world. It would have made life so much more comfortable and pleasant if I knew this information when I was 10, 5 years old, moving forward with my life. Now, I say, how do we expect to be happy or even be sane or normal living in this world? You can't, because why? You're going against God and you don't even know you're going against God. And guess what? You're going against God, nobody wins. Everybody loses. And then you're going to live a life wondering, why did not my dreams come true? Why this happened to me? Why was I divorced? Why did I got sick? Why did my son die? Why did my daughter die? Why did my wife or husband cheat on me? Why did I lose my job? The list goes on. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. It doesn't stop coming. Okay. So this life is a struggle and no one is immune or can escape it. Moses, Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, they all struggled. All these great men, they struggled. How did they manage to handle all this problem in their life? How did they manage to stay sane? not go crazy. Well, it's called Bitachon. The right understanding what Bitachon, trust in God, means. When you have the correct understanding, the correct definition of Bitachon, trust, confidence in God, you can endure pretty much everything life throws at you. There is not going to be any limitation in terms of, yes, you're gonna be hurt a little bit, but nothing like what we experience today at all. Nothing like. When Alternice passed away, it almost tore me apart because I could not understand why. The first thing we want to do when something tragic happened in our lives, we want to ask God, why me? What did I do? I didn't do anything. Why we asking those questions is because we don't understand what bitahon means. We don't understand who God is. If you understood who God is, that's something would never cross your mind. Why me, God? Why did this happen to me? And if you look at the Old Testament, no one in the world in the Old Testament said that to God. Why did you do this to me? Moses didn't say that. Abraham didn't say that. Isaac, Yaakov, none of those say, God, why did you do this to me? Why did there was no such thing. There was no such thing. They cleave even more to God than ask question. And this is where we need to be. This is where we all aspire to be, to understand and to have that level of bitahon, confidence in God. Read the Old Testament. Everything you need to know is in the 5 books of Moses. Okay, the 5 books. Now Moses, when he got the 10 Commandments, he taught about hell for 2 months straight. So did Abraham. These people, these 2 giants of a man, they didn't teach about heaven or reward. They taught about the consequences for breaking the rules, the punishment, where you're going, which is hell. So if you know what not to do, then that means the only thing left is you're going to heaven. So if you're avoiding everything not to do, that means you have a path to go to heaven, right? Because you're doing the things that's not going to send you to hell, but will take you to heaven. So now there are leaders that are misleading people, telling people things that are outright wrong. Okay, telling them things that are damaging to them, that would damage their soul, and also they will damage their life here on earth as well. So these leaders are not good leaders. They're about their pockets. They're having a platform. They're about fame. They're about fortune, and they want to be noticed. They're not teaching the people what they need to know in order to live right with God and to be successful and to have a peace of mind in this world. This is what this teaching is about. The right mindset, hashkafa, the right understanding of who God is and what your mission, what is your purpose is in this world. So when you understand that, there's no more question, then you know how to operate around that. And that's what made Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, Joseph, Moses, King David such great men, because they understood their role, why they're here. How many of us could say we understand that? Our understanding is the more material you get, the more successful you are. And that's the opposite. We've been taught the wrong thing. And if you notice, most people who have a lot of material, they're not happy. If you look at these movie stars who have everything, fame, fortune, guess what? How come they get married 6, 7, 8 times? Divorced. They're not happy. If that were true, all this material make you happy, then no one who's wealthy should ever be miserable or divorced, right? But guess what? We know it's not true that they're not happy, okay? So just by looking at their life, we can tell these people are not happy. There are different levels of bad that false teachers are teaching. There are different levels of bad. People distastefully behave, and behavior is a weakness in your character. Okay, the goal is to get people to do tshuva, repent, and change their ways to live a holy life, a life of meaning, a life of purpose, a life that makes sense, a life that you are proud to live, a life that your children and your parents will be proud that you have lived. The number one problem everyone has is using their logic to make sense of God. Everybody wants to believe that they understand what God is doing, or they understand what God is thinking, or they think that what was then no longer applies. God says, my word is eternal. It's eternal. It is not going to change ever. So that's the first thing you need to understand. What was then is applied today. God does not change. If God changed, then he's not God. He would be like us, because we change every day we wake up. We would change. We're not the same people every day we wake up. We constantly changing. Would you want someone like that to be your God, constantly changing? Is that the God you would want? Absolutely not. So therefore, God is eternal, and his word, his ways, he never change. That's what makes him God. Now, that means you by default will always be wrong. By default, you're going to always be wrong. Because why? You're thinking that you know God. You understand God. Now, the question is this. How do you know God when you don't know anything about him? Have you studied? Have you put at least a minimum 5 to 10 years of learning his word day and night for you to say, you know what? I've been learning for 10 years about God day and night, all kind of resources, and now I understand God. Guess what? Never. Why? You're limited. Every human being is limited. We are limited to our understanding. We are limitedly mentally, physically, emotionally. We are a limited creature. We are finite. We're only here temporarily. We age and then we're going to die. It's just a matter of time. You give it time, it's going to happen. So again, you have to keep in mind that this is something that is, it's a must in order to live in this world. We have to have this bitachon, this trust. That's a must. If that's the first thing that I think every parent should instill in their children. Because why? You know, as a parent, this life is difficult. You know this life is a struggle. So how do you prepare your child? This is it. Bitachon, trusting God, what it means, what's the real definition of it. The only one who will always be right is the Creator, God. He is alone decide what is good and what is bad. You know, people think they know what good is, what is bad. You don't know what good is. The only one that know what good is God. Because why? He created you. Are you God? The only way you could know what is good for you or anyone else, you have to be God. But you're not God. So the only one that knows what is good for you is God himself. Jewish world don't believe in, in anything outside of that. They don't believe anything outside of that they know what is best for themselves. They know the only one that knows that understand that, is God. So good comes from God. Definition of good is what God says good is. Now, one of the confusion people have is that one size fit all, that all their explanation, they have explanation that fits everything. Something in the Old Testament doesn't not have an answer for. So they believe, because people do that. They'll take one thing, one logic they have, thinking that logic will fit everything that they cannot understand. And people love to try to understand things. That's the human nature, trying to make sense of things. But clearly, the Bible, the Old Testament, the Torah says you cannot think like I can think. Your ways is not my ways. Listen to what it says. Your ways are not my ways. So therefore, you will never be able to know God's ways. The only way you will know God's ways is if you read what he says his ways are. And if you never read it, you don't know. You don't know, and you will never know. You have to read it to know it, okay? So part of the teaching for today is, I can tell you, it's very likely if you translate of faith, trust in God is wrong. I can tell you right now, your translation of faith, confidence, and trust in God is wrong. I can tell you that right now. And you're going to find out. And you're going to realize it is wrong, okay? I did not know it was wrong until, again, I learned about it myself. I was wrong because we were taught the wrong information, what trust and confidence and faith in God means, okay? Because most of us have been taught to have faith in God. God, and there is good things will happen to you. If you trust in God, good things will happen to you. We've been taught that. Believe in God, believe in God, believe in God, believe in God, believe in God. Good things going to happen to you. Good things going to happen to you. We've been taught that. Trust in God. So now it sounds good. It sounds really good. I mean, it sounds, it, it doesn't sound like there's much work to it. But the truth is, there's a lot of work behind that trusting in God. And you're going to see what it takes to trust God. There's a lot of work, just the simple fact to trust God. There's a lot of work behind to do that. And for someone to tell you just trusting God and good's going to happen, you're going to see that's almost an impossible thing to achieve without this information. The real meaning of definition is that someone who has confidence, trust in God, kindness will surround him. That's the definition. Someone who has confidence and trust in God, kindness will surround him. That's the true definition of what trust in God means. That's exactly out of the Torah, the Old Testament. Now, it's been translated like this, mistranslated. They translated to, if you have confidence in God, good things will happen to you. You see the difference? If you have confidence, trust in God, therefore good things will happen to you. Where the real definition says, someone who has confidence and trust in God, kindness will surround him. Now, let me ask you a question. Let's look at King David. If you know about King David, Abraham, Isaac, these people had the most difficult life there was. So where is the good thing that's happening? Like you said, these people spoke with God. Moses spoke with God. Where are those good things you're talking about? Pretty much everybody knows Moses. And everyone pretty much know you can't really say what good thing, how many good things can you name that happened to Moses or that you read about in the Old Testament? So where does that goodness or good thing will happen to you come from? If a man who talked to God did not get the good things by your definition, he did not have those. So where did this come from? And we're going to continue. Now, the philosophers like to interpret, they say, think good and good things will happen. There's a lot of teaching behind that. People who's teaching you, these fools that's telling you these things. This is one of the dumbest things. And I realized, I just, for me, it never made sense. I never practiced it because why? I never seen anyone who walked around and think good things and then therefore good thing happened to them. I haven't met anyone. If you have, write in a comment. Let me know. Okay? And this meant from point A from point B. Because if good things was going to happen to anybody out of the entire human race, it would be Moses. Because Moses spoke to God. It would be Moses, not you or me, if good things were going to happen. So again, if you know such a person, write in a comment and let me know. They have a whole teaching of secret that is driving force for most people, especially those who have not know the Old Testament. So again, because when you don't know the Old Testament, what God is asking is saying, guess what? You're gonna, again, as I mentioned, it's gonna be a difficult life. So again, that thinking, think good and good gonna happen to you, then that's something Moses should have practiced. If you think good, therefore good gonna happen. Well, what happened to Moses? What happened to King David? What happened to Abraham? What happened to Noah? What happened to Isaac? What happened to Yaakov? What happened to Joseph? What happened to Ezekiel? Elijah? What happened to all these people? They didn't know? And you do? Well, guess what? Somebody's wrong, right? Somebody's wrong. So there are people who make a fortune teaching people this false ideal. You call these people these gurus, these these motivational speakers. They come in, they brainwash you, telling you some nonsense. You know what you should have said? Well, how come, excuse me, sir, how come Moses did not know this? How come Abraham did not know this? because they had a horrible life. They had a tough, tough life. How come these people didn't know this? But again, because we're not taught and we're not learned, we don't take time to learn, find out the truth for ourselves. So we're going to believe any idiot, any fool, manipulator, liars, deceivers, like I say, sheep in wolf clothing coming on the scene, telling us things. Why? They just want to take our money because they know it doesn't work. When they talk about being wealthy, how do you think these people make money? How do you think they become wealthy? They're teaching you how to be wealthy, but the way they made their money is by selling you their book, not what they're teaching in the book. It's their book that made them wealthy that you end up buying for, okay, by going to these ridiculous classes, supposedly to help you become a better you. The only way any human being can be better is in the Old Testament, following the Word of God. That's the only way, because God is a creator. He wrote the book, How to Become a Better You. So how many people do you know has that mindset actually happen and they are happy, enjoying life, just like smelling the flower? Because why? I think happy, so happy things are happening to me. Yay! Who do you know that's like that? Who do you know have that kind of life? Who do you know walking around every day with a big smile because I'm thinking happy and happy things been happening to me? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in the Old Testament. So again, see what people are doing. So again, this is why it's an understanding. You need to learn to find out what the truth is. What do you know like this? Who do you know like that? Nobody. If you have faith in God, good things will happen. This is the definition they want you to buy, okay? If you have faith. And I hear that people say that all the time. I'm like, wow, just have faith. Just have faith. Good things are going to happen to you. There's people who've been waiting for 18 years, 20 years. It's not because of that faith, okay, that good thing. Because why? Again, I already explained that what happened to Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, all these people. Why didn't they figure this out? That if you think good, think good. You think they wanted to go through this difficult life that they had to go through, all these tests they went through? This world is about reward and punishment. It is a test. That's why we're here. We're here for a limited time. And God gave us instruction how to pass the test. The Old Testament is called a book of war. And this is the foundation. If you get this, your whole world going to turn around if you understand this. Your whole world. That's what made these Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, Moses, King David, King Saul. They were able to endure all these hardship and never once asking God, why did this happen to me? Or cursing God. Even Job, his wife asked him, why, or told him, why don't you curse God for what he's done to you? Even Job zipped. Why? Because he understood this. Bitachon, the real trust in God. Now, this is what it says, okay? It says, there is an old misconception rooted in the hearts of many when it comes to the concept of Bitachon, trust in God, trust in Hashem. This term used by the Hasidim, these were righteous people, to name and celebrate essential and has mistakenly become a term to describe the obligation to believe in any situation a person finds himself in where he faces undecided future where two ways apparent, one is good and the other not, that surely the good outcome will be the one to occur, and if one is doubtful and fear the possibility of the good occurring, he is lacking bitachon in God. He's lacking faith in God. This is what one of those teachers has explained what has happened to this definition of trust. This is what has happened to it. This is what it came down to, what I just read to you. And this is what has misled everybody, thinking that if I think good, good is going to happen. There was a mistake that was taught by the Hasidim, the righteous people. It's a mistake in the translation, misconception about trust in God, bitachon. This is a foundational trait to have, but has gone has gone under some change, and they have mistakenly turned what it is into what most of us have believed or currently believe today, which is if you find yourself in a difficult situation where you have two possibilities, one is good one and one is the bad one, surely you don't want the bad one to happen. You just got a letter, for example, you just got a letter from the IRS, and the IRS, you know, you have two options. You just got a letter from the IRS. You have two options. One, it disappear into thin air, and the IRS forget you ever exist. That's one option. Or the second option, you have a serious problem. You have to deal with accountants, lawyers. It become a nightmare. Money, this and that, and this and that. The second option, and the misconception is if you think the good will happen, meaning the IRS will simply disappear, or perhaps Biden would disappear and Trump would win the election. Again, this comes down to two mindset, the good and the bad. I don't want the bad, so therefore I want the good. And this is what it boils down to, the definition we have to do. If we think good, even there's a bad, we can get out of it. If we think good, even if we think good, like we have cancer, we didn't do anything about it, we don't know about God, but just by thinking good, the cancer is gonna disappear. We're about to lose our house. By thinking good, the bank is simply gonna disappear, go away, and we get to keep our house just by thinking good. Do you know anybody who lives like that? Do you know anybody who actually live like that and they can tell you this is what they do? Only you know the answer to that question. All this would happen, all it would not go away if you just think about the good. It's not going to go away because you're thinking about the good. No, no, no. He's going to win. He's going to win. He's going to win. We use this mantra. You know, you have developed a mantra like Tony Robbins in the world. You know, these Tony Robbins people, you know, that you say it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm going to get it. 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 And guess what? Did you get it? No. It doesn't work like that. The famous teachers of the world today tells you to have a mantra repeating the same thing every day. If you repeat it's good, 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 then things will happen. No. Wrong. Simply wrong. Because you're repeating good things going to happen and good things will happen, that is not true. That is wrong. It's not going to happen. That analyst is not Bitachon. Trust in God, it has nothing to do with trust in God actually. It doesn't have to do with trusting in God actually. It's the fact you don't want something to happen, therefore you wish good to happen is not going to make good happen. The fact that you don't want the bad thing to happen and you wishing the bad thing not to happen, therefore it's going to happen? No. We all know that it's not going to go away. Now, of course, God do create miracles, but this is not bitachon. This is not trusting God. This has nothing to do with trusting God. Confidence in God. Okay? Why? This understanding of bitachon is not the correct for as long as the future has not been revealed through prophecy. The future is not decided. Who knows God's judgment and reward? So by you saying good things going to happen, then that means you're a prophet probably, right? The only prophet will tell you what the future has written. Because why? God has already made a judgment what the future is going to be. So the prophet comes to tell you what is going to be. But because I think I trust God and I believe good things going to happen to me, therefore good things should happen to me, is not trust and confidence in God. That's not the definition what trust and confidence in God is. I know it's a shocker. It was a shocker to me too, because we've been taught this all of our lives. And there are people who live their entire life thinking and never saw this ever happening. And it's a shame to have lived in this world with a false understanding what confidence, trust, and belief in God is, to leave this world not known. This is why this is the most important teaching you will ever know, is if you can get this yourself and you teach this to your kids, to your friends, to your family member, you share these videos with people. And then again, this is again, as I said, I'm doing this class as well for Altrinice Mays, which was again, someone that I love dearly. This will help other people. It's as if she did it, and that way she gets credit that goes to her merits in heaven. And you can pass this video to other people and they will be blessed by it as well. And also for people who have left this world, this will go to their merits as if they did it, because they're no longer in this world. So they can't do good for themselves anymore. So therefore, we have to do good on their behalf for them. And by us being here doing good for them on their behalf, it will elevate their soul in the next world. Now, it says, this world is created on the basis of reward and punishment. That's what this world. Trusting in God is not that you thinking you can write the future with your mind. That's not what trusting in God is. You are not going to write the future with your mind, okay? It doesn't work that way. So I am going to win $1 million. I'm going to make $1 million, get married, also going to have kids. By you saying that. And people say that. I've heard people say that all the time, what they're going to do, what's going to happen, as if it's written already. You think that you just doing that 5 million times a day is going to write what the future, you're going to write the future? Do you really think you're writing the future? Because God says man plans and I laugh. So who's right, you or God? God is laughing at your plans, because he's the one that writes the future. He's the one that knows the future. So where do you come from thinking you're going to write the future by what your beliefs are? Do you really think the world works this way? Do you really believe the world works this way? I don't think so. But we've been taught that. And some people, or a lot of people, believe that. If this really worked, we would meditate all day. We would never come out of our house. If I could just sit down in my house and meditate and do the mantra, I believe $1 million is going to come to my door. I believe $1 million is going to come to my door then. Yes, hello, who is there? Oh, this is so-and-so. Is this Victor Payne? Yes, it is. Or Mr. Payne,